All right. Hi, everybody. So today we're going to be doing the Chapter 7 practice test. So make sure that you are writing down all of your work on a piece of paper, and you will be correcting your answers when I go through the problems in this video. Make sure you write down all your work because you will be uploading this picture onto the Google Classroom, and you may use this on your test. So right now you should have your math composition notebook out because you're going to need to use your notes in order to help you with this practice test. Okay. So number 1, it says identify each pair of angles named Identify each pair of angles named below as adjacent angles or vertical angles. Okay, so they give you 4 angles, and what you need to do is you need to decide, are they vertical angles or are they adjacent angles? So go ahead, pick your answer, and then we will go over it. Okay, so remember how we name angles. So if I'm looking at GDA, I'm going to go from G to D to A. So I know they're talking about that angle. And then CDE, I'm going to go from C to D to E. So I know they're talking about that. So those show me vertical angles. So I'm going to write those down for vertical angles. CD. Oops, no. Let me just fix that. That's going to be CDE. CDE. Okay, then the next one, it goes ADB. So from A to D to B. So right here, this one. Okay. And then we have FDE. So I'm going to go from F to D to E. Okay, so these are also opposite and they're formed by 2 intersecting lines. So that is also vertical angles. So ADB and angle FDE. Okay, now let's look at BDC. So I'm going to go from B. Let me erase all this so we can see it more clearly. So BDC. So I'm going to go from B to D to C. So they're talking about that angle. And then CDE. I'm going to go from C to D to E. Well, they share a common side and they have the same vertex. So those are adjacent angles. So BDC and CDE are adjacent angles. Then we have ADF. So ADF. So this angle right here. And EDF. EDF. Okay, well, that's this angle right here. And I see that they share a common side and they also have the same vertex. So those are adjacent angles. So ADF and angles EDF. Okay, so that's how we identify pairs of angles as adjacent or vertical. Make sure you have this written down and let's move on. Okay, number 2 says select each figure in which the value of x is 35. So over what you're going to pick which A, B, C, okay? Which figure represents x as 35? There can be more than one answer, okay? So pick which letters you think where x is 35, okay? Okay, so you should have picked which ones. So to correct this, what we are going to do is we are just going to figure out where x is 35. So remember, this is a straight line if we're working with A. Right here, that's a straight line. So I know that's 180. So I know I can do 180 minus 155, and that's going to give me what x equals. So in my calculator, I go 180 minus 55. Oops, sorry, 180 minus 155, and I get 25 degrees. Well, it wants 35 degrees, so therefore it is not A. So A is not an answer. Okay, over here, this is a 90-degree angle because we have that little box. So in order to figure out what x is, I'm going to do 90 minus 55 degrees, okay? And I'm going to do that in my calculator, 90 minus 55 degrees, and I get 35 degrees, which is what they want. So that means B is an answer. Then over here, let's notice these 2 angles are sitting on a straight line. And remember, a straight line is 180 degrees. So let's set up our equation. 180 degrees equals, well, we have x plus 3x plus 40. And then all we're going to do is solve for x. So we need to combine our like terms. We're going to get 4x plus 40 equals 180. And then from there, it's just a two-step algebra equation. So first, we're going to subtract 40 from both sides. And that's going to give us 140 equals 4x. And then finally, we're going to divide both sides by 4. And that's going to give us x equals 35 degrees, which, again, that's what we want. So the answers are B and C. Okay, those are the figures in which the value of x is 35. So make sure you have this written down and let's move on. So determine whether the two angles in each figure are complementary, supplementary, or neither. Okay, so you are going to place them where you think. So this one's going to be A, this one's going to be B, this one's going to be C, and this one's going to be D. Okay, pick your answer. Okay, so remember, how we figure out whether they're complementary, supplementary, or neither is we just add together the angles. So in your calculator, I want you to do 134 plus 36. 134 plus 36 gives me 170. Okay, just a reminder, complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So since this is 170 degrees, that means that that is neither. So I'm going to put A as neither. Then B, we're going to write 78 plus 12 degrees. 78 plus 12, that gives me 90 degrees. Remember, angles that add up to 90 degrees are complementary. So B goes under complementary. Then let's look at C. We're going to go 67 plus 23. 67 plus 23 equals 90 degrees. Angles that add up to 90 degrees are complementary. So we're going to write C there. And then we have D. We're going to go 98 plus 82. And 98 plus 82 equals 180 degrees, which, remember, supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So D goes there. Okay? So you should have B and C are complementary angles. D is supplementary. And A is neither. All right. So find the value of x. So go ahead and pick your answer. Okay, so what we are going to do, remember that a straight line, these angles are lying on a straight line. Remember that a straight line equals 180 degrees. Okay, so in order to set up our equation, we're going to go 180 equals these two angles added together. So x plus 35 plus 4x. Okay. Now we need to combine like terms first. So my x and my 4x are like terms. If I combine those, it's 1x plus 4x's. So that's going to give me 5x plus, I still have my 35, equals 180. So now it's just a two-step algebra equation. So first I'm going to subtract 35 from both sides. Okay, and that is going to leave me with 5x equals 145 degrees. And then finally, we're going to divide both sides by 5. And that's going to give me x equals 29 degrees. Okay. Now remember, if you want to check your answer, all you need to do is plug that 29 into where the x is, and then make sure that when you plug those in, it does equal to 180. So for example, we do 29 plus 35. And I know that equals 64 degrees. And then we would do 4 times 29. 4 times 29. And that gives me 116. And then you would just add 116 and 64 to see if it equaled 180. And it does. So therefore, we know we are correct. We just checked our answer. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So match each triangle with its classification. So we have triangle A, triangle B, and triangle C. I want you to pick which name you think goes with each triangle. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the sides and the angles. So with triangle A, I see that there is an angle that is 122. Okay, I know that this is an obtuse angle. which if there is one obtuse angle, I'm looking at my notes right now, I know that that's going to be an obtuse triangle. So I notice here it says obtuse, okay? Then I'm just going to check. Let's look at the sides. The sides, I see a line right there and a line right there. That means that those two sides are congruent. And remember, with isosceles, it says, I saw two E's in isosceles. That means that there is at least two congruent sides. So this is, in fact, an obtuse isosceles triangle. So that is going to be A. Now, this one, we have 56, 72, and 52. Okay, well, all of these angles are acute. They're all acute because they're all less than 90 degrees. Now, let's look at the sides. There's no lines, which means, remember, if there's no congruent sides, it's always going to be a scalene triangle. So I know triangle B is an acute scalene triangle. Now let's look at C. C, we got 60, 60, 60. Now remember, if all of the angles are congruent and they're the same, that's an equiangular triangle. And then I notice there's a line here, and a line here, which means that all the sides are congruent, which means it's an equilateral triangle. So I know that C is an equiangular equilateral triangle. All right, make sure you have that written down and let's move on. Okay, so it says the measure of two angles of a triangle are given below. Find the measure of the third angle of the triangle in decimal form. So these are two angles of the triangle. You need to find the third angle. Ready, set, go. Okay, so all you're going to do for this is remember all the angles of a triangle add up to 180. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 180 equals 28.5 plus 104.25 plus x. And this is going to equal my third angle, okay? Now I combine these together and I get 28.5 plus 104.25. I get 132.75 plus x. Then to solve for x, I just subtract 132.75 from both sides. And I get x equals 180 minus 132.75. I get 47.25 degrees. So that is what the third angle is. Okay, make sure you have that written down and let's go to 7. Which of the following statements are always true? A rectangle is a rhombus. A rectangle is a parallelogram. A rectangle is a trapezoid, or a rectangle is a quadrilateral. So pick which ones you think are always true. Ready, set, go. Okay, so this problem is where you're going to need to use that quadrilateral chart that I told you need to have down in your notes. So I'm using my chart, and what my chart says is a rectangle is a rhombus. Well, a rectangle is not a rhombus because if I'm looking at my flow chart, rhombus is not above rectangle. So I know that this is false. This is not true. A rectangle is a parallelogram. Well, if I'm looking at my chart, I see that a rectangle does come from a parallelogram. So that's true. A rectangle is a trapezoid. That is false. They are not connected in the lines. A rectangle is a quadrilateral. Yes, a rectangle is connected to the quadrilateral line. So therefore, those are true. So the ones that are always true is 2 and 4. Okay, let's move on. Number 8, find the value of x. So go ahead and find the value of x for this quadrilateral. Okay, so remember, all the angle measures of a quadrilateral equal 360, add up to 360. So our equation is going to be 360 equals 64 degrees plus, remember, a right angle equals 90 degrees. Okay, these equal 90 degrees. So plus 90 degrees plus the third angle, 90 degrees, plus our fourth angle, which is x. Okay, combine your like terms. We're going to add all these numbers together. So 64 plus 90 is going to give me 244. So I get 360 equals 244 plus x. To solve for x, you're going to subtract 244 from both sides. And that's going to leave you with x equals 116 degrees. So that's how you solve for x for a quadrilateral. Okay, let's move on to the next one. For number 9, it says use the scale factor 1 to 12 to find the missing dimension. It's a great white shark, so the model, it gives you a length in inches, and the actual is a length in feet, okay? So what you are going to do for number 9 is, well, it says that it is 1 to 12, okay? So if they give us 21, I know that to get the model, okay, so to go from here to here, I need to divide by 12 because for every 12, there's one of the actual model, okay? So I'm going to divide this number by 12, essentially, go backwards, and I get 21 divided by 12. That gives me 1.75 inches. 1.75 inches. Okay? And that is your answer right there, 1.75 inches. Okay? All right, now number 10 says a scale model of a high school basketball court is 7 inches long. The actual court is 80 feet long. Which statements are true? So make sure you are going to pick A, B, C, D. So which statements are true? Go ahead and pick your answer. Okay, so if I'm looking at the different options, first I see that the ratio I could write would be 7 inches to 84 feet, okay? That's the first ratio. So to get it into scale, I'm going to divide this by 7, divide both of these by 7 in order to get 1 right here, okay? So divide both of them by 7 to get 1. And if I divide 84 by 7, I get 12, okay? So the first one is the scale of the model is 1 inch to 12 feet. Okay, so this is 1 inch to 12 feet. That is the first one that is true. Okay, now let's think about if we want to put them all into the same units. So how many inches are in a foot? Okay, well, I know that there are 12 inches per foot. Okay, there's 12 inches per foot. So if I want to convert 84 feet into inches, I'm going to go 84 times 12. Okay, by doing 84 times 12, I'm going to get 1,008 inches. All right. So now if I write my ratio, it's going to be 7 inches to 1,008 inches. Okay, so now they're in the same unit. And then again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide both by 7. And that is going to give me 1 to 144. And since they're the same inches, we don't even have to label them. So this is the other way that we could write the scale factor. So your answer should be B and D. Okay? Okay, classify the triangle described below. A triangle with measures of x degrees, and 2x degrees. So go ahead and classify the triangle. All right, so to do this, remember all the angles of a triangle add up to 180. So in order to solve for this, we're going to do 180 equals the first angle, x, plus the second angle, x, plus the third angle, which is 2x. Now we're going to combine like terms first. So we have 1x plus 2x. That's going to give me 4x equals 180. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 4 to solve for x, and I get x equals 45 degrees. So now let's plug them in. Well, we have a 45 degree, we have 45 degrees, and then we have 2 times x. So if we do 2 times x, 45 times 2 is going to give me 90 degrees. And notice 90 degrees always means that it's going to be a right triangle. Okay, so since there's that 90-degree angle, it's going to be a right triangle. So that should be your answer. Okay, which properties are true for all rectangles? 1, 4 congruent sides. 2, 4 right angles. 3, exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. 4, opposite sides parallel. Or 5, opposite sides congruent. So pick your answer. Okay, so for this one, you're literally just going to look straight into your quadrilateral flow chart. So First, a rectangle is a parallelogram and a quadrilateral. So let's see, 4 congruent sides. Do they have 4 congruent sides? Well, no. 4 congruent sides would be a rhombus, and it's not a rhombus. So that's a no. 4 right angles. A rectangle does have 4 right angles, so that's good. Exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. That is not true because exactly 1 pair of parallel sides is a trapezoid and a rectangle is not a trapezoid. Opposite sides are parallel. That is true because it is a parallelogram. And opposite sides are congruent. That is also true because that is a feature of a parallelogram. So your answer should be 2, 4, and 5. Okay, and I just used that flow chart to help me with this. Okay, for 13, it says the figure shows how one path intersects another path in a park to form 2 angles. Find the value of x. So go ahead and solve for x. Okay, so again, remember, this is a straight line, and a straight line always equals 180 degrees. So I know it's going to be 180 equals this angle, x, plus this angle, which is 3x plus 12. So first, I'm going to combine like terms. 1x plus 3x is going to give me 4x plus 12 equals 180. Now, it's a 2-step algebra equation. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides first. And that is going to give me 168 equals 4x. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 4, and that's going to give me x equals 42 degrees. All right, so that's what you should have. Let's move on to 14. So 14, the angles for the construction of a wooden double gate are shown in the diagram below. What is the value of x? So they want you to find the value of this x right here. Okay, so go find that. All right, so remember, all the angles of a quadrilateral equal 360. So we are going to add them all together. So we have 76.5 degrees plus, this is a 90-degree angle because of the right triangle, or because of the right angle box. So plus 90 plus another 90-degree angle plus our x. So first, I'm going to combine my like terms. So 76.5 plus 90 plus 90. That's going to give me 256.5 plus x equals 360. Then to solve for x, we are going to subtract 256.5 from both sides. And that is going to leave me with x equals 103.5 degrees. All right. So make sure you have that down. And then 15, it says the scale on a map is 1 centimeter to 35 miles. The distance on the map between Los Angeles, California and San Francisco, California is 10.8 centimeters. What is the actual distance between Los Angeles and San Francisco? So they want to know the actual distance. So not the scale, the actual distance in miles. Okay, so go ahead and solve that. Okay, so it says the distance is 10.8 centimeters. And it says that for every 1 centimeter, it's 35 miles. So all I'm going to do to get it into miles is I'm going to go 10.8 times 35, since that is what my scale's given me, okay? So 10.8 times 35 gives me 378 miles, which is our answer. All right, so that is number 15. Okay, so right now, make sure you have all of this work down, and you are going to go to the Google Classroom and get this turned in. Now, make sure that you are using this to help you on your test. The test will look identical to this. So this is going to be a great tool for you to use. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and you may go get started now.